Hello there, Chosen. Welcome into the service of the gods. As I am a believer myself, I am happy to be the one to guide you.
And here he's going to give us perhaps our most important item. When I very first played this, I played this extremely early on. The cosmic seed would get lost in various events, and so it would be bad. But now, cosmic seed can be lost, but it's much harder to do so. This is perhaps your most important item in the game. You get more, and they'll be attributed to certain things. Normally I skip the story because I've heard it quite a lot. But for your benefit, we'll go ahead and listen.
Theodore's the name, but little old me is not relevant here. You are. I am here to tell you of some basic rules and hand over any divine objects that may have been bestowed upon you. First and foremost, the cosmic seed. Yes, Thea is far from a land of prosperity. Darkness was defeated long ago, but it is not gone. It lurks in the corners and attacks at night. The Shattering tears the earth asunder, and a scorching light takes hold of folk without protection. The seed, and others like it, is a gift of the divine, a piece of the cosmic tree itself. It can grant great boons, and it allows you to set up a village and provide divine protection there. But if you wish for the life of a traveler, or if you are skilled enough to create another seed one day, this seed can be used to forge divine artifacts, or even bring back a comrade from the clutches of death.
So again, extremely important. So one cannot build villages without a seed?
Indeed, you'll catch on fast. Without the seed or different means that other factions may possess, the village attracts the cursed light and is taken by it within days. And if
I hate the
somehow
light.
that does not happen, terrors of darkness will drive your folk insane. This is how it has been in Thea for many centuries now. It is why we struggle still to survive just another day.
So, is there anything else we need to know?
I may pop up now and again to tell you things, but for now, you must take your first steps into this hostile land. Remember to check for resources on the map for gathering. Set up camp for craft and cooking, and check your inventory to make sure you are well equipped. Here, have some wood, so you may heal when camping. My advice is to explore, learn the ropes, and only then decide on a settlement.
Alright. Yeah, I think we're going to just thank him and leave. We get our wood, which will only be burned. This is fuel. This is only going to be burned when we're actually camping. Food, however, will be consumed every day. And with this, best seasons for gathering, spring and summer. I want you to know that the more types of food your party consumes, the happier they are, the more bonuses they get. So food is perhaps the next most important thing to consider other than that cosmic seed. And it'll lead to perhaps what I think is the most annoying quest, in which all focuses around demons playing tricks on us. And we'll get to that. I do want to let you know that was voice acted. Thea 1, the first Thea, if I remember correctly, the game didn't start out with voice acting. Before the expansion came for the first Thea game, they added in voice acting for all of the main quests, and then the expansion came and those weren't voice acted. I could be mistaken. It's been a long time since I've played Thea 1. Great game. Enjoyed it quite a bit. Thea 2, they have very limited voice acting. I think they did voice acting on the beginning quests and certain things so that you can get drawn in to certain events. Honestly, I play this game mostly with the sound completely off and just listen to an audiobook, so it's been a while. One thing I always do very first, you have a few options over here on the left. You can see that there is a world map. I really generally play without going into the continent map. Each of these continents has a unique set of resources and a unique set of events and a unique set of citizens that the others do not possess. Now, with this, I'm going to mispronounce a whole lot because the fantasy base for a lot of this is not, I'm going to say it's not friendly to my dialect of English, and I wonder if it's friendly to very many dialects of English. Could be, I don't know. But, I hope you forgive me. Some of it will be traditional, some of it won't. We also have this button here. The resources that we get are going to be pretty standard. These are things that you're going to know. And you'll note that we start off right off the bat with coal. This could be turned off due to a higher difficulty. If you choose to turn off coal, coal will not appear on this main island. Remember, every island has a set of resources that is attributed to it. Coal is seen as a pretty easy way to get fuel, particularly because it's also next to a food source. Now, it's hard to tell because of coal's coloring, but there are two other resources here which are grayed out. This is because when we start out, we do not have the technology needed to harvest malachite or to harvest granite. Now, the next thing you'll notice is that malachite does not have a symbol next to it. Coal does not have a symbol next to it. Fish does not have a symbol next to it. But granite has the wild resource symbol next to that. The wild resources, I always try to craft with a wild resource if I can, especially if I can gather quite a bit of the resource. But when you craft it, it's a lot harder to get the items that you want. So you have to keep in mind of that. This is a great starting area. And honestly, if I were going to build a village right away, which I'm not, I would build it here. We have fuel, we have food, and when you build a village, you get a minimum +1 range on gathering. Right now, I can just gather things in my hex and in the surrounding hexes. The fish and the meat would be in range, so the berries would be in range. This is really a great place to start. There are playthroughs where I'm rushing to get experience, particularly if I start out with certain child combinations to level up those children into good characters. This is not one of those runs. I'm kind of debating, do I just hunker down, learn granite or learn malachite and continue, or do I try to go out get some experience? We're gonna have to go out eventually. I think I'm going to go ahead. This is our research where we can learn everything. We get research from just about every event, and then we can spend turns researching to get more research points. Right now, we only have 1 point available, but we'll quickly get up the first few. It's harder to get research time and time again. Really, when you're deciding this, there are two things that you need to take into account. The first is what's available on the map. It does not pay for me to get Dragon Bone unlocked when I'm nowhere near any Dragon Bone. In fact, I'd have to leave my current continent or island or whatever you call it to go to a different one to get any of these next level resources. Then the next thing you need to know is the items that you want to make. Now, there are 3 types of crafting, and really there's 4 now since the expansion's been added, but they only have 3 tabs. I wish they would have done a 4th tab for rituals, but it's all under the building. So if developers, you're watching, I'd like a 4th button or a 4th tab for building. 5 tabs total, but it's totally feasible because everything does branch out nicely and neatly. If you add more rituals, though, please consider it, or more buildings. So going over these, again, rambling, it's late. Going over these, let's talk about equipment. Now in this, if you've played Thea 1 and you're coming to 2, there were a few things that are different, but I'm going to go ahead and explain it as if you've never played either. When you craft a piece of equipment, you'll need the research for almost everything. There's very few items you can craft without the research, and those items are typically associated with crafting and gathering, or the other ring, which is a very humorous name for a divine artifact that is awesome that you can spend your cosmic seed on. Let's say that I wanted to do an axe. Now, the very first level in the axe will allow me to craft hatchets or battle axes. And the end product will change based on what resources I put into it. Now, you'll see that I can only use stone and leather in the battle axe, and stone and metal on the hatchet. As I get to the second rank, I'll get a bonus to crafting them, and then I can use additional material. You'll see that rank 2 for the battle axe unlocks bones for the primary and metal for the secondary. And then the third, I don't need to go to that, will give you a bigger bonus and allow you to use metal for both. So if you have a vein of mithril that you've been working and you really like axes, then you might want to do that. But you'll notice that I will have left hatchets entirely alone. So as you spec into these researches, you're going to have to decide what you want to craft. You can see that armor crafts into 3 different items. Rings or the artifacts are, what are they called? Because these are artifacts. Jewelry. Jewelry is the only straight branch in this. And jewelry is very effective and is perhaps the most changeable due to the equipment that you have. But the bonuses that you get from speccing into one of these is quite significant. I am next to a source of stone, and I very much am considering the axe. I don't typically like the axes. They're high damage and high speed, but they don't provide any other bonuses naturally. Clubs do area of effects. Spears have first strike and such. Scrolls are great in multiple situations. Artifacts are wonderful if you are focusing on social interactions and faith-based interactions. Bows are great for range. Yeah, axes, though, they fit the material around me, and I kind of do want to stay. But I do have that hunter. I do have the hunter. So hunter, if I choose the malachite instead, doesn't really help me with the resource. I could always go... This would actually probably be best. Speccing into armor. And... oh, I lied about the only one. Shields right here next to rings. Just goes straight as well. I think I'm going to go ahead and then focus on... That allows me to really pick up both. I'll focus on the granite. Now, here is the wild resource. It is going to be harder for my characters to work, particularly since I have a penalty to crafting due to my Dzievanna. And here you can click and see everything that she's granting you. But I think overall it's going to be great. So now that we're all set up, we have a few things to look at. We start with some good equipment. This is going to give us 14 points of melee shield. If it were going to be melee, if it's sanity and faith shielding, you see my 3 different health bars, then it would be a kind of a rainbow colored. But with this, it will give her 15 just straight up melee. Good, but honestly, I would rather have a mediocre multi-shield than a really high melee shield. Then again, I tend to avoid combat if other situations solve. And that's the other thing about this game, is you'll have social situations where things are determined by yellow. You'll have the combat situations or strength situations where it's determined by red. And then faith and magical, which is determined by purple. You'll see more of that as the game goes on. Here's our good puppy. I usually get a full bar, but that's okay. It increases our max sanity by 16.5 and increases our perception by 4.3. Now, one thing I like is all of our stats here, you see, have multiple features. So here, secondary physical attribute affects gathering, luck, and health. And we'll be able to see more of that. Just note that we get bonuses from this. I also like to give our hunter gathering. Now that perception, as you saw, affects gathering. And so we have a fairly high gathering with her. Gives us an alternative to our gatherer over here, who has a high natural gathering. And I'm actually going to stick our warrior... Oh, you're not our warrior. There we go. Our warrior with our crafting bonus. Actually, she has a terrible crafting. What am I doing? They all have terrible crafting, and this is not a flat crafting bonus like I thought it was. It's a percentage-based crafting, and there you'll see when we go to make items, things can vary. You can make crafting that gives you a flat bonus, crafting items that give you a bonus to research, crafting items that give you this percentage-based bonus. We're going to go ahead and give our off armor, though, to our warrior. I don't like to necessarily give extra equipment to the children, and the reason why I don't like to do that, and I can't confirm this for sure, but I believe it to be true, is that when you click on auto battles, which you'll do quite a lot on things you know that you're going to win, I believe it encourages the computer to use the children characters if they are fully equipped, versus characters that you want them to use and have the better stats. Especially in sanity right now, I would want her to take the sanity damage over any of our other characters just because of her good puppy. And so now we have our camping. Click camping, and you see a bunch of buttons here. Just want to go over this. And so you'll see there's quite a few options we choose. If you want to see a character's full stats, best thing I like to do is go to over here in our inventory. You'll note that characters begin in the inventory because I can split things up to create two different groups, which you will do if you form a city. And then right click. You have this full drawn out stat, their full ability list, their effects. You'll note that she's the chosen, and there's a lot you can do. So just going through each of these, we have our supplies, and if you have a building, it'll appear over here. You will have resources, and if you don't want them to use a certain resource, then go ahead and click here. This is important when you get multiple types of wood. Right now it's not all that important. And here are the bonuses that you'll get. Again, morale bonuses most easily come from the different types of food. You've already seen our inventory, you've seen our equipment. Here's our gathering, where we assign our gathering. A couple of things to note. When you are selecting the items you want to gather, there are two ways to do this. I can manually assign, or I can click this plus sign. Now if I click this plus sign, it's going to automatically drag our best character, which in this case is Tomko, to gather. You'll see here, I will gather resources every 312 points. he is going to contribute 108 points, and so he delivers 3. Here is crafting. This is important because you can see here's the crafting tools. And I'm going to kind of go into design mode here. You'll see all of the items that are applicable to this. I'm only going to select items that I know I might encounter. So let's go back to crafting. I know I'm going to encounter granite. So if I were to do granite, based on my current stats, I could either get a 3.9 flat bonus, a 37% increase, and of course you'll be able to identify whether or not that math is more is better than this math, or a specialty item which gives me increased sanity regeneration, a smaller increase to percentage, and a flat bonus increase to research. Gathering, let's go ahead and say that I did malachite. And you'll see a flat bonus, a percentage bonus, and then very similar rituals, which are now a great thing, increase in percentage to gathering, and a group carry multiplier, which if you're playing on certain difficulties can be a very, very good thing. Now, you might be wondering what happens if I switch it up. I will go ahead and change this to scaled leather, and you'll see that the percentages change. In this case, they actually go up. And so the better items, and I find usually the left-hand side is better, may provide different bonuses. Now, if I get amazing, amazing things, you'll see that the bonuses get quite insane. As this yellow bar fills up, everything is better. Now, that's design mode. Oh, I said that I'd show off the one or the other ring, not the one true ring. Somehow, this little ring feels full of energy. Just put it on your finger. You know you want to. And this is something I don't recommend that you build immediately. You're going to get more cosmic seeds, and a cosmic seed is required for this, but you're also going to get better items. Now they recommend that, or they don't recommend, they allow you to start crafting this at I want to say their second tier, but I'm not quite certain on that. They might be third tier, just based on the research you start with versus the what you actually get. But they basically let you start with these. Now, when you get mithril, you can see that certain things happen. +4 to all of your main stats, +19 hit points, +20 multi-shield. That's the rainbow shield that I talked about. But if I were to do this instead, you can see it dramatically goes up. And because this costs... Oh, and of course summon demon. Because this costs the amount of... or the cosmic seed that it does, and the amount of special resources that it does, I really don't recommend that you build this anytime in the beginning of the game. Unless you are going for a no city playthrough. Then, you know, do it. So, the next one, cooking. Now, in Thea 1, there were two purposes for cooking. Goods weighed more when you were carrying the raw product than the finished product. That's still true. And then morale bonus. That's still true. You'll actually get a lot more variety, I feel, in this. So we go to design mode. If I were to do this, I would make relata. If I were to do this, you'd make grilled meat. So if I were to switch the primary ingredient, you get scrambled eggs, and then fruity custard. And remember, for each different food type you get, you'll get a morale bonus. However, where I see a lot more variety is when you click this food tab. Food tab, we have a huge selection, and so we could get all of those items under sweetmeats, which we start unlocked with. Or I could get the goblin recipes, grandma's treats, traditional menu, vegetarian choice, or perhaps the most popular, because you can stack meat on meat, meaty meals. And so you see there are all sorts of different ones you can really go through, get varieties, and boost that morale bonus really, really high. And it's worth doing. It's something that I forget sometimes, but it's definitely worth doing. Now, going back to this, I don't know why I closed this. That leads me into rituals. Now, the last tab was rituals, and that works very much like the crafting, but the items may not necessarily help you, or they may. So in this case, I could replace the city idol, which is what founds the city, and from what I understand, the resources help. However, the spiritual healing, the resources don't help. They're just number of resources you expend will be based on the resource. So before, there were really only 2 rituals, and the goblin bonus, which is great now, to increase rituals, was kind of meaningless. But with their newest expansion, the game for Thea 2 has added all of these awesome rituals. I haven't tested all of them out, but I enjoy them as a secondary thing to do that is better than just, okay, I research. Now up here, we have our idol. Once you have a town, you can build additional buildings. Now you start out being able to build the town as a building and one of 3 boats to get you from island to island. Once you're settled though, you'll get access to various things that will give your town and citizens within range of your town the various bonuses as well as resource collection. One of my favorite things is the children's playground, although I liked I believe it was the Cabbage Patch and Thea one better. Children's Playground, instead of giving you random children, will instead grant the children who are here various bonuses. And based on what you build it out of, it could be a really good size bonus to all of their primary stats, or bonuses to their mystical and faith stats. And remember, when they grow up, their stats have a huge amount on playing what they are able to choose for their class. So this kind of ends the tutorial. So the last episode, if you haven't caught that, I'd encourage you, had the tutorial for choosing what to start with. This is the tutorial for choosing really what to do as far as your activities go. I don't think I'll do a tutorial on how to interact with the events, but we're going to go ahead and get right into gameplay. Again, I don't know if we are releasing all of these at once, or if we are going to release them day by day. That's going to depend on how long I survive, and I don't know how long that'll be. It's really going to vary for me. So if you're interested in any episodes that might come out with this, then make sure you subscribe, hit that bell notification, and you'll go ahead and get those when they come out. Otherwise, if they're already out, just enjoy the next episode. I'm Ndonosci. As always, have fun.